The snow fell in thick, silent flakes, blanketing the small Ohio town in a hush that felt almost holy. Tom stood on his sagging porch, the glow of a single Christmas bulb casting shadows across his weathered face. His breath puffed out in clouds, mingling with the cold as he stared at the rusted mailbox by the road. It was 7:32 p.m., and his daughter Ellie was late again. The single dad opened the door, expecting her teenage scowl or the jingle of her backpack, but instead, a young woman stumbled forward, her thin frame shivering under a tattered coat. She fell into his chest, her voice a broken whisper, "Help me!" Her eyes, wide and glassy, held a fear that stopped his heart. Who was this stranger, collapsing in the arms of a man who'd forgotten how to trust? Tom's hands hovered, unsure, as he steadied her. She was young, maybe 25, with matted blonde hair and a face smudged with dirt and tears. Her coat was too big, slipping off one shoulder, and her sneakers were soaked through. Hey, you're okay," he said softly, his voice rough from years of quiet evenings alone. He glanced down the empty street, half expecting someone to come chasing her. Nobody did. The snow kept falling, muffling the world. He guided her inside, her steps wobbly, and shut the door against the cold. The living room was dim, lit only by a flickering TV and the faint glow of a thrift store lamp. Ellie's school books were strewn across the coffee table, a half-eaten plate of mac and cheese beside them. "Sit!" Tom said, pointing to the couch. She sank into it, clutching her arms around herself. He grabbed a quilt from the armchair Ellie's favorite, the one with the faded daisy sand draped it over her shoulders. She flinched at first, then pulled it tighter. "What's your name?" he asked, keeping his distance. She didn't answer, just stared at the floor, her fingers twisting the quilt's edge. He tried again. "I'm Tom. This is my place. You're safe here." Her eyes flicked up, searching his face, but she stayed silent. What kind of fear keeps a person from even saying their name? He moved to the kitchen, a small space with chipped linoleum and a coffee pot that never turned off. He poured a mug, the steam rising in lazy curls, and set it on the table in front of her. "It's just coffee," he said, his voice gentle but firm. "Warm your hands, at least." She hesitated, then wrapped her fingers around the mug, the warmth seeming to loosen something in her. "Lila," she whispered finally, her voice barely audible. "My name's Lila." Tom nodded, leaning against the counter, giving her space. Outside, the wind howled, rattling the windows. Why would a stranger care enough to let her in when the world had clearly turned its back? Tom wasn't sure what to do next. He wasn't good with people anymore, not since Jenny left 6 years ago, leaving him and Ellie to figure out life alone. He was a mechanic, good with wrenches and engines, not feelings. But something about Lila's hollow eyes reminded him of Ellie's after her mom walked out lost, like the world had cracked open beneath her. "You hungry?" he asked. Lila shook her head, but her stomach growled, betraying her. He didn't push, just grabbed a loaf of bread and some peanut butter from the pantry. He made a sandwich, set it beside the coffee, and sat across from her in an old wooden chair that creaked under his weight. "You don't have to tell me what happened," he said, scratching the back of his neck. "But if you're in trouble, I can call someone. Sheriff's station's just down the road." Her eyes widened and she shook her head fast. "No police," she said, her voice sharp for the first time. "Please." Tom held up his hands, palms out. "Okay, no police. Just trying to help." He studied her, the way her hands trembled even with the mug to steady them. She wasn't drunk or high, just scared. He knew that look. He'd seen it in the mirror after Jenny left, when he realized he'd have to raise Ellie alone. The front door banged open, and Ellie stormed in, her backpack slung over one shoulder. "Dad, I'm fine, okay? Practice ran late, Ando." She stopped, staring at Lila. "Who's she?" Tom stood, his chair scraping the floor. "This is Lila. She's just stopping by." Ellie's eyes narrowed, her 16-year-old suspicion kicking in. "Stopping by? It's like a blizzard out there." Lila shrank deeper into the quilt, and Tom shot Ellie a look. "Go do your homework," he said. Ellie rolled her eyes but stomped upstairs, her door slamming a moment later. Tom sat back down, softer this time. "Teenagers," he muttered half to himself. Lila's lips twitched, almost a smile. "She's got your eyes," she said quietly. Tom blinked, surprised. "Yeah, she does. Got her mom's attitude, though." Lila's gaze softened, and for a moment, the room felt less heavy. When was the last time a stranger's words felt like they could mend something broken? Over the next hour, Lila started to talk, not much, but enough. She'd been hitchhiking, she said, trying to get to Cleveland. Her car broke down a few towns over, and she'd been walking ever since. She didn't say why she was running or who from, but Tom didn't press. He told her about the garage where he worked, about Ellie's obsession with basketball, about the time he burned a Thanksgiving turkey and they ended up eating pizza instead. Lila listened, her shoulders loosening, and when she finally took a bite of the sandwich, it felt like a small victory. "You got family in Cleveland?" he asked, keeping his tone light. She shook her head, her eyes dropping to the mug. "Just somewhere to start over." Tom nodded, understanding more than he wanted to. He'd thought about starting over too after Jenny, but Ellie kept him here, in this small town with its diner, coffee, and church suppers. "Starting over's hard," he said. "But sometimes, all it takes is one person to make it feel possible." Lila looked at him, her eyes searching again, like she was trying to decide if he meant it. Could a single conversation, a warm mug, a quilt be enough to make someone believe in tomorrow? The snow slowed outside, and the clock on the wall ticked past 9. 0. Lila's hands had stopped shaking, but she still looked like she might bolt any second. Tom stood, stretching. "Look, it's late. You can stay here tonight. Couch is yours. I'll grab some blankets." Her eyes widened again, but this time with something softer gratitude, maybe. "Why are you doing this?" she asked, her voice small. Tom paused, thinking. "Because I've been where you are," he said finally. "Not the same, but lost. And someone helped me once. A neighbor just brought over a casserole after my wife left. Didn't fix everything, but it made the next day easier." He didn't tell her the whole story, how that neighbor, Mrs. Callahan, had kept checking in, dropping off cookies, or inviting Ellie to her garden until Tom could breathe again. He didn't say how those small acts had kept him from falling apart. But he saw something shift in Lila's face, like a crack letting light through. She nodded, pulling the quilt tighter. When did kindness become the bridge between two strangers' pain? The next morning, the snow had stopped, leaving the world sparkling and still. Tom woke early, the smell of coffee filling the house. Lila was already up, folding the quilt neatly on the couch. She looked different in the daylightless fragile, but still guarded. "I should go," she said, her voice steadier now. Tom nodded, handing her a paper bag with a peanut butter sandwich and an apple. "For the road," he said. She took it, her fingers brushing his, and for a moment, neither of them moved. Ellie clattered downstairs, her hair a mess. "You leaving already?" she asked Lila, her tone less sharp than the night before. Lila nodded. "Yeah, thanks for letting me crash." Ellie shrugged, but Tom caught the flicker of curiosity in her eyes. He walked Lila to the door, the cold air rushing in as he opened it. "If you're ever back this way," he said, "you know where to find us." Lila smiled, small but real. "Thanks, Tom, for everything." She stepped into the snow, her figure growing smaller as she headed toward the bus stop at the edge of town. Tom watched until she was gone, then turned back to the house. Ellie was at the kitchen table, her math book open but ignored. "You're weird, Dad," she said, but there was a warmth in her voice he hadn't heard in a while. "Yeah, well, you're stuck with me," he said, ruffling her hair. She swatted his hand away, but she was smiling. Later that day, Tom found a note tucked into the quilt, written in shaky handwriting. "Thank you for reminding me people can be good, Lila." He folded it carefully, slipping it into his pocket. He didn't know where Lila was going or what she was running from, but he hoped she'd find what she needed. Maybe it was the coffee, the quilt, or just the fact that someone cared enough to listen. What if one small act of kindness could ripple out, changing a life you'd never see again? As the days turned into weeks, Tom and Ellie fell back into their routine: school, work, basketball games, and pizza nights. But something felt different, lighter. Ellie started talking more, not just about school, but about her dreams, her fears. And Tom found himself lingering at the diner, chatting with the waitress who always refilled his coffee, or helping Mrs. Callahan with her groceries. The town felt smaller, warmer, like a place where people looked out for each other. One Sunday, as they sat in the church basement after service, Ellie nudged him. "You think she made it to Cleveland?" she asked. Tom smiled, stirring his coffee. "I hope so, kid." He thought of Lila's note, still in his pocket, and the way her eyes had softened before she left. Kindness wasn't a cure, but it was a start, and maybe that was enough. Has kindness ever changed your life? Tell us in the comments your story might inspire our next video. This story is a work of fiction or dramatized for entertainment purposes. While it may be inspired by real human emotions and events, all characters, names, and situations are either entirely fictional or modified for storytelling. This content fully complies with YouTube's community guidelines and is intended to inspire, not mislead.